Hi Curlies, it's Mary. So welcome to my channel. If it's your first time visiting, please hit the red subscribe button to subscribe. And if you are a returning subscriber, then thank you so much for your continued support in 2017. This is going to be a chit chat get ready with me video on this look right here. It's not a very bold look, but I feel like I really love the brown tones in the makeup. We have a bit of a shimmery eye situation going on too, but it's not too bold and in your face. It's quite subtle, and a matte brown lip. So if you'd like to see how I got this look, and also if you'd like to hear my opinion on the topic at hand, then stay tuned. So as you can see, I've done my brows already. I'm also going to be attempting to try some new products out on camera. So I have moisturised my face as usual with my Pur-lisse moisturizer, and I have primed my face with this little product, which is the Maybelline Baby Skin Instant Pore Eraser. So I'm going to start off with my eyes. I'm going to be priming my eyelids with this Nudestix Magnetic Matte Eye Colour. So I am feeling slightly nervous about this topic because I feel like it might be a bit, I guess, controversial amongst some people. And believe me, like, all of my videos like this are not going to be all on this type of topic. But it just seems to be that this is the kind of thing that's been on my mind recently. There's something that I heard as a child and as a young person, that as I got older, I actually decided to kind of start to challenge, because I kind of realized that I was believing something that had been passed down to me. But A, I didn't really feel like it completely made sense to me. And B, to be completely honest, I couldn't find a specific scripture to back it up. It's this notion of there being some kind of soulmate that God has specifically chosen. So one person out of 7 billion people on the planet, God has chosen one specific person for you. Now I know some people are going to be like, are you serious? Are you trying to say that, you know, God is not going to choose a husband for you? No, I don't think he does, to be honest. No, I don't. I believe that God guides you towards things that are good for you, but I don't believe that God just takes choices away from you. Like, there's a reason why God gave you a brain. So I'm going to be attempting to use quite a few colours or shades from the Love Contours All palette from NYX. Basically, you have 9 eyeshadows in the middle. You've got 2 highlighter shades, 2 contour shades. Sorry, I'll show you that properly. And also 2 brow shades. I'm going to be starting off with this brown colour right here. As mentioned previously, my church was a very, very strict Pentecostal church, and dating was out of bounds. And basically there was a lot of talk from people at the church, as well as for me, like family members, where basically they said, well, you know, if you like someone or if somebody likes you, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to pray, and then God will reveal to you whether this person is the one. And then basically from there, I don't know quite how the process works, but it was supposed to be like a fast track to marriage from that point, basically. I remember sort of being between the ages of maybe 8, 9 or 10. And that kind of started to bother me, because I just started thinking, well, what if God has chosen someone for me, but I don't like this person? Am I just going to get forced to marry them anyway? Like, okay, next I'm going to be using this shimmery brown shade here. And I'm going to be applying that with a flat shader brush. The whole process of people getting married was this kind of weird mystical experience. You would go to church one Sunday completely oblivious to what's about to happen. Out of the blue, the pastor would say, okay, so today we have an announcement. The pastor would either call up the 2 people involved. Bearing in mind, like me growing up seeing this, I've hardly ever seen this man and this woman ever speak to each other in person. Hardly ever. And then next thing, yeah, basically they came forward. They, you know, they've somehow indicated that they wanted to get married. Further down the line, they would get married to each other. You just kind of get this feeling, you know, this thing, because people are talk about God so much, you just basically keep going with, you know, what they've told you, but you don't actually know how to form a proper relationship with another person. I would say almost all the people that I knew between the ages of 10, between the ages of maybe 10 to 20 that got married in that environment, most of them are divorced right now. I feel like this model where people are basically told, you know, God is going to reveal your husband to you, and then you have this very weird secretive process of how people actually get together. They would label that as godly. I would say that that's just a bit strange. Not even a bit strange, it's just strange. And I don't think it has a lot to do with Jesus. And I have seen so many people get messed up from this notion that God has handpicked one specific person in the whole world of people, only that person for them to marry. Now, I'm not going to say I don't believe that God guides you, but my thought is, okay, but if so, I feel like everything is supposed to match up. Okay, let's just say you and a particular person go to the same church as each other. You see some major red flags in their behavior. Controlling, possibly prone to violence, womanizing. And please don't tell me that doesn't happen in church, because it does, okay? I'm just saying, if you meet somebody and they tend to be showing you those kind of characteristics, I don't believe that just because you had a dream, or just because you believe that God spoke to you, or just because brother or sister or one of the older people in the church came to you and said, I believe that God told me that you are going to marry X brother over there. If you are seeing them red flags right there, I think you need to slow down and really question, where is this coming from? I don't think that you should make a life-altering decision when major red flags are coming up in your face, but you're just naively going into this saying, well, you know, I mean, God told me, so I'm just going to go ahead with this. Okay, next I am going to be taking this slightly lighter shimmery shade. It's more of a champagne shimmer colour. And I'm going to be using the same shade of brush as before, because I want that to blend into the other colour that I've seen. Things are supposed to add up more than that. And unfortunately, I've just seen people just get into the maddest of situations. And you can see, like, from before they married this person, that something was off, okay? But as far as they're concerned, they had a dream. So whatever red flags they're seeing, it's all gonna be alright. I don't think that being a believer is gonna save you from the practicalities of life. Today I'm going to be attempting, note the word attempting, to use less concealer. Let's see how well that goes, because usually when I use this much concealer it just never quite works, but we'll see, right? Okay. I do believe that God speaks to people. However, I don't think that the process of choosing someone to marry and spend the rest of your life with is as much of a mystical process as some people make it out to be. And I honestly believe sometimes God just speaks through very, very plain circumstances. Like, you can see the guy has some dangerous traits or the woman has some really, really negative traits, okay? I don't think that it takes a word from God above to tell you, you know, whether you should be marrying this person or not, if you can see all of that stuff in them. This time I decided to try and apply my setting powder with this Real Techniques brush. I may or may not regret this decision, okay? Because it's just not working out with my beauty blender today. Usually with this brush, literally the powder goes everywhere, so I have to just be ultra careful. A lot of people talk about the story of Isaac and Rebecca. So clearly the Bible is indicating that God was in that situation, working things out for the best. Okay, so for foundation, I am using my Old Faithful, but not old at all. It is a Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation, and I just stick with that foundation because it works really well for me. So I feel like people are like taking out stories like that, or stories like Boaz and Ruth, okay? And there are great principles that we can learn from these Bible stories about the right way to go about things, about praying for guidance. But at the same time, yeah, not everybody in the Bible got married in that way. In those days, in the Jewish tradition, you got to a certain age and your family thought, okay, well, my son or daughter is now old enough to be married. They would arrange it between the families and you would get married. And that's not to say that they didn't pray to God for guidance for what they were doing. They did. Just make this a very, very mystical process. You know, like you have to have a dream or a prophecy or somebody just, you know, out of the blue telling you something. Now, don't get me wrong. I do know people who have gotten married, okay? And, you know, they believed that this person was right for them. They actually really, you know, found themselves really loving somebody. And then there was a confirmation of that from someone that they had never ever spoken to about this person before, and the timing of events was just so perfect of how things came together that it was just like, yeah, definitely, like definitely there is a divine hand in this, okay? But also it was also clear from the two people that they were, you know, at that point which they were ready for marriage. Obviously nobody's perfect, but neither of these people had like major, you know, really, really terribly bad like character flaws that they really need to work on before marriage or anything like that. You know, we can really mess ourselves up badly, okay? You know, there are people who have gotten married to someone simply on the word of another person from their church. They have literally lived with this consequence for the rest of their life, thinking that, you know, well, this was God's will for them, and have lived through some horrendous, terrible circumstances, just believing that this was in God's will for them. I was speaking to one of my friends about this topic, and she made a very, very good point, which I'd never thought of before. She said, so if there's only one person that you're supposed to marry out of like the 7 billion, what if that person makes a mistake and marries the wrong person? Does that mean you're going to stay single for the rest of your life? I have heard of people actually, like all 20 years later, I'm talking about, saying that the person that they wanted to marry married someone else. And they're sitting here still claiming that that was the person that they should have married, and this person made the wrong choice because this is what God had ordained. But you know, within that 20 years, you could have met someone completely different and gotten married. Someone who loves God and treats you just as, you know, good, if not better than the person that you're sitting there 20 years on still pining after. Off camera I did my eyeliner at the bottom. It's just with my Rimmel Kohl pencil just because it's just perfect. I used this Cailyn Cosmetics gel, is it gel liquid liner? I can't remember, but I'll put the name in the description box with all the names of the other products as well. The formula of this eyeliner is so nice and so black. So for this cream contour, I'm going to be using this Mix Chicks in the Mix, which is a combination of a highlighter on one side, well, highlighter slash bronzer, let's call it that, and a foundation, which I apologize a bit, I messed it up a bit, but yes, this is the foundation color. It's not quite my color, so I figure why not just use it as a bit of a very subtle cream contour type look. So when I got to about 25, through a whole set of circumstances, I decided that I was just going to go on dates. I just decided that, to be completely honest, if anybody asked me out and they seemed decent and it was safe to do so, I would go out and get to know this person a bit. I'm noticing that around this area, which is one of my oily spots, that I'm getting a bit greasy. So what I'm going to do is just use my It Cosmetics powder just to set this area. And yes, I'm going to look strange for a while, but okay. So while that's setting, I am just going to finish off under my eyes. I'm just going to set that. When I did start dating, family members did say to me, "What's wrong with you? Why won't you wait on God for the person that God has for you?" How am I supposed to know if I don't get to know the person? How? Am I supposed to go into like months of fasting and prayer to just know if I should go on a date? Like, literally, it's just a date. It's not, the person hasn't proposed, you know, we ain't planning to, like, you know, move in together and have children together, nothing like that. Would literally just, let's go out to get some coffee together. With that thought, if it's taken to an extreme, it can become really damaging. And I do think, to a certain degree, that does tend to be, to a degree, what contributes to a lot of Christian women being single way up into their 40s and 50s. Now, if you are in that position and you're happy with it, like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being single at all. But it's just this thought that God is like Royal Mail, you know. Like, you don't have to go out and experience life. You don't have to make any effort. You don't have to do any of that stuff. All you need to do is just pray and trust God and stay within your routine. Only associate yourself with the same set of people at all times, and somehow, miraculously, this man is just going to appear in your life and come and propose to you and get married to you. Like, I just don't think that that's real. Every person that comes in your direction, you turn them down, but then you start telling them that, you know, you start telling people that God is going to send somebody for you. Okay, but how do you know that the man that you just turned down wasn't the man? Like, if that's what you believe, you know? You never even gave the brother a chance to even find out what he was about. Decided to do a slightly different coloured blush today. And this is the NYX Bright Idea Illuminating Stick. It has a slight shimmer to it, but it's just a warm sort of tangerine colour, which I like the look of, so I figured I would test it out a little today because I have never worn this before. Just gonna apply that on my cheeks a little bit. And I'm just using my buffing brush, but this time I'm not going to make circular motions because I feel like it will completely take all of the blush away, or the colour. So I'm just going to be dabbing it this way. it just creates a really nice natural glow that I really enjoy. I'm really enjoying this. Okay, and now for my lips, I'm going to be using a matte colour. This is Teeny Tiny by Colourpop. And it's a kind of a, how do I describe this? A mauve colour. I'm going to go back to the Love Contours All palette, and I'm going to be using this colour to set my contour slash bronzer colour. I'm going to be using this colour to highlight with. This is going to be my encouragement for 2017. I'm not saying that any random dude that crosses your path, yeah, you have to give that person a chance. But what I would encourage you to do is, honestly, start taking some chances in life. And don't be so afraid. The fear of making the wrong choice can actually be paralyzing, because you're so afraid of doing the wrong thing that you just don't do anything at all. And then your life begins to stagnate. And I don't believe that God is about that. The Bible does say that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and a sound mind. But yet we let fear of doing the wrong thing dominate us every day. If you meet someone and you think they're just not quite your type, I'm not talking about completely wrong for you now, I'm talking about just not quite your type, why not go on a date with them anyway? You might be pleasantly surprised. I'm actually going to put like this blush back on because I feel like I literally rubbed it all back off. Yeah, I really get to know their character. Are they honest? Are they trustworthy? Do they do what they say they're going to do within reason? But I don't believe 2017 is the year that you should just sit there and just say, oh, I'm waiting on God. How do you know that God is not waiting on you? Okay, so now I'm going to just add a little touch of highlighter to my cheeks. Whoa, okay, I said a little touch. That was a bit much. That was more than intended. But okay, we can fix that, it's fine. And last but not least, I forgot to spray my face to fix my face. So this is the spray that I'm going to be using. It is the L'Oreal Infallible Fixing Mist. Okay, Curlies, so this is the final look. I hope that you enjoyed this chit chat, get ready with me. I am really interested to hear what you guys have to say about the topic that I discussed. Also, if you have any other topics, chit chat, get ready with me topics that you would like to hear me give my opinion on, then I would love to do one of them. So I would really love if you could leave some comments in the comment section below the video and let me know what you'd like to hear my opinion on. If you enjoyed this video, even if you didn't agree, but if you enjoyed hearing my point of view, then please give me a very big thumbs up. Also, you can hit the red subscribe button below the video. And I will see you soon in the next one. Take care. Bye.